As if there wasn't excitement enough for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I think Lucasfilm, with the release of the newest book, Skywalker: A Family at War by Kristen Baver, just confirmed that yes, Qui-Gon Jinn will definitely be back in the Obi-Wan series, more specifically, which takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. That is the second thing I'm mostly excited about after the Vader-Obi-Wan duel that will happen amidst Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And of course it's Disney and it's Lucasfilm, they can't help themselves. They're gonna tease things and they're gonna incorporate ideas that the fans just want. We want to see Qui-Gon, or at the very least a disembodied voice of Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn's ghost. Because many fans don't actually realize this, but Qui-Gon was not able to appear in Force ghost form like Obi-Wan did and Yoda and so forth. Through his studies, Qui-Gon Jinn only mastered the ability to come back as a voice, as we see in the Clone Wars series. He talked Yoda through everything, and in the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda told Obi-Wan as well. But honestly, either way, if he comes back as a voice and talks to Obi-Wan, or now with retconning, they can somehow make it so in canon, Qui-Gon can actually appear as a Force ghost and talk to Obi-Wan on Tatooine, now as Ben Kenobi 10 years later, that would be spectacular. And as I said, it's the second greatest thing I'm expecting out of the Kenobi series, outside of the, of course, inevitable Obi-Wan Vader duel. So of course it is one of the most eagerly anticipated shows that is centered around Obi-Wan Kenobi, which will be played by Ewan McGregor. It will be set 10 years after the self-imposed exile on Tatooine, the very one we see in Revenge of the Sith. And it will also feature Hayden Christensen, as we found out, as Darth Vader, alongside numerous other actors, which is just starting to ramp up. There's been an intense speculation over just how this story fits the overarching story of the Star Wars saga, because back in the day we thought that Obi-Wan was just an old hermit who lived out the rest of his life on Tatooine, which practically meant that we thought in our minds 19 years Obi-Wan just sat there as Ben Kenobi on Tatooine, did not use his lightsaber, did not use the Force, and his only service was to Luke Skywalker, protecting him until he can become a Jedi. Me and a lot of other fans, of course, speculated immediately that there is a possibility that Liam Neeson could return. And while that possibility is definitely there, we have nothing confirmed as of right now. But the history of the Star Wars series and the Star Wars movies have told us that they will not show it until the last moment. This is what happened with Baby Yoda. There were no leaks until we saw episode 1 of The Mandalorian and realized that there is a Baby Yoda in the midst. Same with Tamora Morrison. They kept that secret very tight. Although there was speculation, there was nothing even to confirm that Tamora Morrison would be back as Boba Fett in the Mandalorian series. In fact, as Yoda tells us at the ending of Revenge of the Sith, Qui-Gon has made contact with him as a disembodied voice. So it is known that Qui-Gon's spirit mentored Obi-Wan in his time on Tatooine. He taught him how to become a Force ghost himself, so it would make sense for Qui-Gon to definitely be back and talk to Obi-Wan, not only reminiscing of other times and about Anakin, but also lecturing him on how to continue in the spiritual realm. So far, there's been 2 other times that Qui-Gon has talked to Obi-Wan, or 1.5 perhaps, you be the judge. The first one is in the Certain Point of View series, where Qui-Gon talks to Obi-Wan on Tatooine, calls him not only Obi-Wan but calls him Ben as well. Now this happens in the comic series, and the first time I read this, of course, I was ecstatic. So this is the half part where I'm not sure if Qui-Gon is talking to Obi-Wan, but in Star Wars issue number 15 of the 2015 series, you get to see Obi-Wan talking to Qui-Gon directly, but no Qui-Gon talking back. So you can see smoke coming out of the chimney of Kenobi's hut. Inside, Obi-Wan is making a stew, and he's talking to Qui-Gon, telling him, "Remember when I used to complain about the food at the Jedi Temple? Master, That was before I had Snake every night for a year. This is of course being read by Luke, who found Kenobi's journals on Tatooine, and of course Obi-Wan is relaying a story of his hardships on Tatooine. Not only was the stew bad, but he had to confront Uncle Owen as well, who was knocking at his door and completely rejected his help as it pertains to little Luke Skywalker. If this little story ends up making it in the Kenobi series, then you can definitely bet that it is around that time period, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, because we get to see Luke in this comic series and he looks about 10 years old. But the final proof that Qui-Gon will come back, of course, as we said, comes from the Skywalker, A Family at War novel. And I'm gonna read you a short excerpt about the conversation between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. In the book it says, shortly after his arrival on Tatooine, he became known as Old Ben among the children of Mos Eisley and the sprawling surrounding settlements, an eccentric hermit of no import. Kenobi's beard and hair turned gray. The harsh environment and the streets of all he'd endured aged him rapidly. For years he remained hidden yet cautiously vigilant. He studied the Tusken Raiders and their culture, wishing to understand their brutish nature. And in the stillness, he expanded his knowledge of the Force. Before he and Yoda had parted ways, the old Jedi revealed that Obi-Wan's beloved master, Qui-Gon Jinn, had returned from the netherworld of the Force, manifesting his conscious mind even after death. It took 10 years, but eventually Obi-Wan was able to communicate with his dearest friend, resurrected within the cosmic force. So the last part of this, you can clearly see that Obi-Wan finally will get to communicate with his old friend Qui-Gon Jinn, his master. And it most certainly says here, it took 10 years for Obi-Wan to master the skill in communicating with Qui-Gon. And since the Obi-Wan series takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, this book and the Obi-Wan series are explaining the same timeline of Obi-Wan's journey on Tatooine. 10 years later, it is exactly then when Obi-Wan will finally get to talk to Qui-Gon once more. This means that Liam Neeson will definitely be back in the Obi-Wan series, my friends. And can you imagine? Now here's where my freaking fanfic head goes. Can you imagine just in the middle of the Obi-Wan Vader duel, 10 years later after Revenge of the Sith, they're dueling each other and they're at each other's throat when all of a sudden Qui-Gon appears in front of them. Vader cannot probably see Qui-Gon or hear him, but Obi-Wan will be able to talk to Qui-Gon and might even play the role of a psychic, talking to Vader, telling him what Qui-Gon is saying at this moment about Vader, how Qui-Gon is disappointed at Anakin and how his fate turned out to be. At least, I mean, that's all my fanficky mind. I would love to make that sort of a fan fiction someday, maybe in cartoon form or in 3D, but that would definitely, you know, make my day or month. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I make that fanfic? I would love to. Guys, let me know, are you excited about Qui-Gon being back in the Obi-Wan series? And what do you think will happen when we finally see Qui-Gon? So let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you can have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you until then.